Welcome to topic 8. Today we go back into some theory. It's a mix of theory and some practical, but a topic we discussed today, a really cool one, is chords. What are chords? A selection of notes played at the same time. So, chords are more of the harmonic and rhythmic elements of your song. Usually, a chord could be used to tell you a portion of melody as well, but more than often you're gonna see a chord being used as backing for a melody. And then there's various types of chords. There's going to be like a major chord or minor chord, diminished and augmented. And it gets more complicated than that because chords, like there's infinite possibilities of how many chords can be made with a given key or keys. And you have additions also. Like you could have a chord, a C major chord, and then you can add a seventh note to it, a ninth note, and it keeps going. And then you can make shifts or mutations of those to make more complex ones. But we're gonna stick to the simple ones for this lesson at least. We're gonna get into triads. Triads are chords made out of three notes, and a good amount of songs out there today that you listen to on radio or reels or anything. Most of the music today could be broken down as a combination of triads from a given scale. Then you have limited number of scales and limited number of chords. Then you have limited number of chords that can be allowed within a scale to make musical sense. The chords we're going to discuss in this tutorial lesson are going to be rather limited, and as you go ahead in learning further, you're going to see some variations or some rule bending that you can use to your benefit to add elements in a song that make it not very plain. But for the lesson of for this tutorial topic, we're going to see a limited number of chords that are allowed within a scale that make musical sense. But as you learn further, you're going to see that you can bend the rules a little bit and add chords that otherwise don't fall within the scale definition, but it still sounds well, and that kind of helps make your song more exciting as also. Here are the list of the allowed chords that we are going to be discussing over here. So at the top, you can see the notes that are present in the C major scale, and then you have 7 chords, each chord starting with each of the notes from the scale. And on the left, you see the name of those chords, and then you have 3 notes, the ones that make that chord. So here you can see there's a C major chord, which is the first chord in the C major scale. You have a D minor, then you have an E minor. So you have a major scale followed by 2 minor chords, and then you have 2 major chords again. So you have the F major and the G major chord. And then coming to the last 2 ones, you have another minor, and there's a diminished chord. So usually in all major scales, the last chord, the chord made by the last note, that's going to be the diminished one. There is a theory element to why these chords are major or why they're minor or why that one is diminished, and we will discuss that theory in the future lessons. But for now, I just want all of us to know these chords and how they're going to be used in the upcoming lessons and songs that we practice. This is what a chord would look like in sheet music. So you have that there's a 4/4 chime signature sheet over here, and the chords are being represented by half notes. But you can see that all of them are drawn together at the same time in the same portion of the measure. So you have C major on the first side. You can see that it goes on the middle C, the note, the line where it says E, and the line where it says G, and then go so on and so forth. You'll see that every other chord from the table before is represented properly in these sheets. The one on the top is the right hand or the treble clef explanation of how chords look in sheet music, and the one at the bottom is the bass clef. A progression is going to be an order of chords. So you choose chords to be played over and over again as a repetition, and that becomes a progression in the song. An example of a progression would be C, A minor, F, and G. Fun fact, that is one of the most popular progressions out there in pop music and some country and other genre before there. But it's quite likely that some of your favorite songs are in that progression. And as you can see over here, I've used the notes to represent the chords. It's also common practice. You might see it music, people might say, can you play the C chord? And that's usually meaning the C major chord. If they want the minor chord to be played, they will explicitly mention that. And over here you can see that the minor representation is only for the second one, because I want to explicitly mention that that's the A minor chord. So you have the C, A minor, F, and G. So let's go and try that out on the keyboard now. Let's first go through all the chords that were present in the table and the sheet music. We will start with the C major chord first. So you put your fingers in the regular position as you've seen in the previous practices and songs. You put it on C, D, E, F, G for both hands. Now you're going to take finger 5, finger 3 and finger 1 on the left hand to play C, E and G together. And that is the C major chord on the left hand. You'll do the same with the right hand with finger 1, 3 and 5 on C, E and G. Both of them together sound like this. This is still a triad because each hand is still playing 3 notes only, and if you notice, the notes that are being played on the other hand are exactly the same as the previous one. So it is kind of the same chord. To go to the next one, the D minor chord, we'll just move every finger over by one white note. And here you have D on finger 5, F on 3 and A on 1 on the left hand. On the right hand, it's on 1, 3 and 5. This is the D minor. Then you have the E minor. You have F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, C major again. So those are all the chords for the C major scale. An important concept in performance is chord inversions, and that is when you play the notes of the chord but in a different order. Changing the notes of a chord in terms of order does not change the chord. It is still the same chord. So when you had C, E and G in the chord, if you were to play E, G and C, it is still the C major chord. So this is the same chord as this. Excuse me. This is the same chord as this, which is the same chord as this. So I was playing C, E and G in the first chord. In the next variation, I played E, G and C. The one after that, I played G, C and E. Inversions are useful to switch quickly between chords when you have a fast-paced chord piece somewhere, and they are also usually helpful in an ascension or a descension when you have to play a chord that leads into something in terms of upper resolution or lower one. Going to progressions, as we discussed, progression is an order of chords played in a certain rhythmic sense that adds the basic harmony or rhythm to your song. So let's take the example from the sheets before and play C major, A minor, F major, and G major. So if you were to play half notes each bar for the same chord, the progression would sound like this. Chords technically could make its own musical piece also. So what we just played, if you were to play in some variations of the right and left hand, it does sound really good as its own piece as well. In the next lesson, we're going to try using chords in a song and try everything that we've learned together to play your first performance like song. So, see you in the next lesson.